Hi, my name is Rosalind Moore, and welcome to my Master of Library and Information Science graduation Capstone project presentation. Today I'm going to go over my student learning outcome requirements for my Capstone project. I'm also going to share with you my perspectives on librarianship and also share with you some of the artifacts associated with my 2 years in UNCG's MLIS program. Enjoy! Student Learning Outcome 1, the student assesses the philosophy and principles and ethics of library and information field. I definitely feel like I possess the philosophy and principles and ethics of librarian and information field. I'm very passionate about the LAA Code of Ethics and very passionate about Ranganathan's Books Are for Use, and I was very intrigued by the studies that I did in the LIS 600 class on how the perception of libraries were back in the early 1940s. I also was very intrigued by the project that I did on librarians' misconceptions, but I did a little twist on it, and I did the effects on race relations. And what I did was basically looked at all the stereotypes, and I did research on young adult literature and where librarians were featured in young adult literature. And the common thread that I found with all the stereotypes, because there are many out there, the sexy by night librarian, the nerdy, sushing librarian, and the adventurous librarian, is I found that in regards to race, all of the characters were predominantly white female and some white male. But race, there were no librarians of color in a lot of the young adult literature, and it's the same in the media. I found that very interesting, and that is something that I strive for in this field, to change that perception. The student identifies and evaluates, conducts, and applies current research, thought in library and information studies and in other fields. I definitely have applied research in other fields. I have applied research in my place of employment and also in education. I have presented research for my LIS 600 issues paper at the ALA 2012 National Conference. I conducted research on the effects academic libraries have on student retention. And in that research, what I found is academic libraries should focus on marketing to minority students and also improving early intervention programs. From that research, I submitted and I was able to present at the national conference. I've also conducted an action research project on the course reserve program for the academic library I was working at, and I was able to make changes in the way that they market services to departments on campus. I also did several author studies, and I was able to recommend books to students in my current position as a media specialist, and I've done book displays, and the two authors that I did book displays and author research on was Jacqueline Woodson and Amy Tan. Student Learning Outcome 3. The student applies and values user education principles in the teaching of information literacy. My teaching philosophy reminds me a lot of E.J. Josey, the founder of Black Caucus of American Library Association. I'm just going to share a quote from one of his speeches. The potential leader of tomorrow may not have a computer at home, and your library is the educational agency which introduces him or her to his new device. There are so many of our young people who need to be influenced by librarians and to be influenced by libraries. As we get a foothold on management and decision-making hierarchies of libraries, let us learn to use our influence for the greater good of our citizens, and particularly those who need our concerns the most, the poor and downtrodden. I have also, alongside of that philosophy, which I think is very great in this field of librarianship, I have taught a number of library orientation classes. I've taught a lot of database research engines for students. I've collaborated with teachers on various subject lesson plans to integrate information literacy skills. Student Learning Outcome 4. The student designs services to meet the information needs of all users and communities. One of the major principles of librarianship is the provision of equal access to information and services to all users. I've worked with classmates and created a grant to help the Montagnard immigrant population by establishing a health information portal, which I feel is very important. I've also created a library student diversity advisory board, which stemmed off of research from my LIS 600 class. I went on to do an independent study, and at the academic library I was working, we had a growing population of minority students. So what I decided to do was develop a student diversity advisory board, particularly for the library, so we were able to get inside, getting student perspectives on their needs for the library. Student Learning Outcome 5. The student engages in professional development and service and identifies specialization and related professional organizations as relevant to individual interests. I have built significant professional relationships and established connection for professional development both in and out of the MLIS program. Many of my professional development and professional relationships I have gained from being actively involved in several library-related organizations. I am a political task force committee member for the Black Caucus of the American Library Association, BCLA. I have developed great connections and friendships with members all over the U.S. I have received recently the BCLA Smiley Scholarship to attend the next conference in August of 2013 and will be presenting research during the poster session. I'm also an active education committee member for Reforma Library Organization for Latinos. Throughout the duration of the program, I have become very active in the field nationally and locally. I have received several travel scholarships outside of UNCG's ACE Scholarship Program for participation in various conferences. I have presented in thus far 3 national conferences and 4 local library conferences. I have participated in various professional development webinars and have formed information literacy nonprofit called Cultivate Youth Success Library, and I also do a radio segment with that. I can honestly say that I love the library profession and constantly seeking ways to grow professionally. Student Learning Outcome 6. The student applies appropriate technology for effective information services. Throughout my process navigating through the MLIS program, my greatest challenge was confronting my technology fears. I purposely challenged myself by taking additional technology classes than needed to overcome my tech fears. I've had many challenges, but now I'm able to successfully navigate with the new ways that information is being processed. I learned from my experience in the program that even with the progression of technology, the librarians are needed to assist with ensuring users are technology information literate. From my experience in academic and high school setting, many users may be able to navigate social network sites but are lacking scholarly technology information literacy. I have completed several projects to help address some of the needs that are prevalent in many education settings. For example, in my social media class, I've created a Tumblr page on perception on privacy around technology to bring awareness to privacy issues surrounding social media. I raised awareness on user perception on privacy regarding social media and how the lack of education on social media education can be harmful. I'm very happy with the opportunities I've had during the program to experience many different technologies that will be used in the library setting. Student Learning Outcome 7. The student applies advocacy, marketing, communication principles for entrepreneurial leadership. I think about advocacy and marketing, and I think of one having an entrepreneurial spirit. When you are advocating and marketing, it often requires you to think outside of the box for funding and establishing new service that might not exist. I think of myself as a combination of, of the two, which is a grassroots community librarian. Throughout my classes in the program, I find myself either marketing or advocating for something or service I feel passionate about. For example, I created an academic library promotional video marketing library information literacy services to faculty at Johnson C. Smith University. Like mentioned before, I became an advocate on campus for international students, Latino students, and as well as creating specialized services for entrepreneur students on campus. I have become so passionate about being inclusive to all students. I created a student advisory board as part of an independent study to market library services to minority students at my place of employment. I am very passionate about becoming a life learner, advocacy, marketing for all users. Student Learning Outcome 8. The student effectively collaborates for achievement of individual, organizational, professional, and societal goals. Collaboration is the key to success in professional arena of librarianship. Librarianship is a field in which no matter the arena in the field, you will have to collaborate with either vendors, colleagues, and your users. The collaboration was tough at times, but much appreciated. I have worked in a number of fields, and librarianship really requires the ability to have a great interpersonal skills and adapt to change. I'm very appreciative of my experience in working with supportive faculty that encourage entrepreneurial work in the field. I think one of the most beneficial group projects will be the LISTA grant. It was very rewarding knowing that I was going to help with creating funding to assist a group of community users to gain access of informative health literacy. My group work in classes has prepared me to work collaborative with colleagues all around the U.S. Looking back over my coursework and pondering the insights I've gained over the past 2 years has been an interesting experience. I entered the MLIS program with 10 years of corporate experience and 2 years of library paraprofessional experience. I had a clear path set that I would stay in academic libraries, and I am now working as a high school librarian. I absolutely love my work in a high school setting, and I feel at home professionally for now. I believe I have an advantage for my students being that I come from an academic library setting. I can prepare students for the rigorous information literacy skills needed to survive in college. I viewed my original value statement, and I can see the growth and change in my perspective on librarianship. This now concludes the capstone of my Master's of Library Information Science project. Thank you.